Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us on the news briefing for this Wednesday. Our first guest today is Dr. Moreno on COVID-19 information. If you have questions for Dr. Moreno, go ahead and put them in chat, and I will look for our first question. All right, Dr. Moreno, here's your first question. Dr. Moreno, though Monterey County's case and test positivity rates continue trending downward and are lower than they were a month ago, hospitalizations are up in the same period. Why is that?
Thank you, Meg, and good afternoon. So looking at the data, it looks like the positivity rate here in Monterey County is declining as it is in other parts of California. And the case rate also seems to be declining here as well as other parts of California. It looks like the hospitalization rate still looks pretty stable at this time. And that's because we still have transmission of COVID-19 in the community, within our community, and as people travel in and out of our county, they take and bring COVID virus back with them. So it's still really important for people to get be up to date with their vaccines. And also that includes the bivalent COVID vaccine, which does still show to provide some protection against the variants that are out there right now.
Thank you, Dr. Moreno. Next question, how many COVID cases are in the county right now?
Thank you for the question. We always recommend people go to our website, which we update, I think, twice a week, and that's where we have the most current report of cases that are reported to Monterey County Health Department. Of course, those are just the cases that are reported. It doesn't include individuals that test positive, and the cases that test positive that are not reported. So that's an estimate that is used, which has been used for the past couple of years to identify trends in COVID-19, not so much the absolute number of people with COVID-19.
Thank you. And then we'll also follow up on this question. And if that person doesn't have access, we can send that information to them. Next question for you, Dr. Moreno. The Food and Drug Administration is proposing to formulate a COVID-19 vaccine annually as part of a yearly immunization campaign, streamlining the vaccination process and hopefully getting more people vaccinated. What are your thoughts on that proposal?
Thanks, Mia. So I, like other public health professionals, will be eagerly awaiting the discussion of the advisory group and any recommendations that may come out of the FDA and the advisory group for the CDC. So we'll watch and see what they recommend.
Thank you, Dr. Moreno. Here is your next question. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention places Monterey County's community level at low, but as the case, test positivity, and hospitalization rates show, COVID-19 still poses a risk. What is the Monterey County Department of Health's biggest concern in regards to the virus in the county?
We have the same concern we've had for quite some time now, which is that COVID-19, as long as COVID-19 continues to remain in our county and spread in our county, that we encourage people to get vaccinated. We also encourage people to take care to make sure that they're not, if they do get sick, not exposing other individuals. So if people are sick, they should stay home. If they're sick and they think they have COVID, they can get tested because there's treatment out there. And particularly if people get COVID and they start feeling worse, that they contact a healthcare provider and considering getting evaluated to determine whether or not, to determine the severity of their illness and whether or not medication could help them.
Thank you, Dr. Moreno. That is all the questions that I have so far. Are there any additional questions for Dr. Moreno today? Seeing none, thank you very much, as always, Dr. Moreno, for joining us and answering questions about COVID-19. If any additional questions come in, we will forward them to you.
All right, you're welcome.
Our next topic, we're going to be looking at storm impacts for our next several participants today on the briefing, and we're going to start now with our Big Sur Highway 1 status. Highway 1 and storm impacts have been on a lot of minds and in the news recently, and we're very pleased to have Kevin Drabinski from Caltrans here to talk about the latest information on slides and repair options. Good afternoon, Kevin.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the invite to share the information. We currently have three major slides that are affecting Highway 1 on the Big Sur coast. The first is at Paul Slide, which is at post mile 22. South of there, we have the Mill Creek Slide at post mile 18. And then down in northern San Luis Obispo County, 1 mile south of Ragged Point, we have Polar Star Slide. So we have three slides that are essentially isolating the communities within that range. If I can just provide a brief summary of those three slides. Paul's slide was movement there was accelerated by the recent rainfall. Anyone who passes through there before has noticed K-rail and protective fencing. The force of the most recent rains pushed sections of the K-rail out into the center of the roadway. To give you an example, 20-foot segment of K-rail weighs about 8,000 pounds and is locked in with pins to its neighboring K-rail or to the ground. So just give you an idea for the force that's being driven off of Paul Slide. Movement at Paul Slide is unpredictable. The slope continues to adjust as the slide moves, and that causes material and rocks to roll into the roadway. The estimated opening time for Highway 1 is at Paul Slide is 3 to 4 weeks. And even after that, we're going to be at Paul Slide for the long term. So travelers can expect one-way traffic control at that location, even after it's open. The second slide moving south at post mile 19 is the Mill Creek Slide. We had major activity. A major slide covered the roadway on January 15th. Because of the nature of this slide, the fact that it was so saturated, and there's a spring actively pumping water out halfway up the 100-foot length of the slide, we have to approach that slide from the top. And so we were able to clear debris off the roadway and get that slide material. Our geotech engineers say that saturated and oversteepened slope is on the edge of stability and very likely to fail catastrophically, that is in a rapid manner in the near future. We'll be working from the top, trying to take the material down, and that we'll be bringing that material down on the roadway as well. Estimated time for the opening of Highway 1 at Mill Creek is 3 to 4 weeks. The third slide is called Polar Star. It's 1 mile south of Ragged Point. Again, rocky material was dropped down onto the highway, and we have to again approach to affect the repair. We had to create a path in the roadway where construction equipment and staff could get through and get up to the top of the slide to be able to begin repairs and deal with drainage issues there. We believe that we are 4 weeks away from reopening the highway at Polar Star, and so those are the three slides, and those are the three major events that are creating the closure of Highway 1 at this moment. Estimated time for all of them is about 4 weeks, with expected long-term single lane closures at Paul Slides.
Thanks very much, Kevin, for bringing us up to date on that. I know the repair times have varied depending on what you know. Do you know how this is I mean, we know how it's impacting residents who live in the area, but I'm sure tourism is taking a lot of hits here because so many people love to drive that route.
We are pleased with the progress we've been able to make at Polar Star. Once we got on top and made progress there, our estimate for the reopening dropped from 8 weeks to 4 weeks. So we're happy to be able to. I think it's good for the traveling community to know that Big Sur proper is open. The road is still open from Monterey and Carmel all the way down to just about three miles south of Esalen. So those communities remain open, viable for tourists and travelers to get into. Unfortunately, from the San Luis Obispo County side of things, the road is closed 4 miles north of San Simeon. There's actually a gap of road between the Elephant Vista parking, the Vista point there for the elephant seals and the actual slide itself, but the road narrows for a great deal of that path. We need to create turnaround points where trucks and motorhomes can do that. You don't want to see a motorhome trying to do a 3-point turn on most sections of Highway 1 on the Big Sur coast.
So for people who want to come to Monterey, they can just take good old 101.
Yeah, If you're in San Luis Obispo County, you'd shoot right over east on Highway 46 from Cambria, join the 101 in Paso Robles and head north, and 68 over to Monterey and Carmel. And again, businesses are open all the way down the Big Sur coast until you get a few miles below Esalen.
Could I also ask you to talk a little bit about the road closures and respecting those road closures? I think a lot of people, they hear so much about Highway 1, things happen and it's quickly repaired. They may not realize the real seriousness of why you're closing the roads.
Well, part of the approach to getting on top of these slides, like figuratively on top, is we have to create a path through. So for a while, we do clear debris from the roadway to allow our equipment to get through. The fact that a roadway visually looks as if you can drive a vehicle is not an indicator whether or not the road is undermined from below or whether you're at risk from the slope above you coming down on you. So there's often a visual where it looks as if a lane, and it does. You can drive a vehicle through there. However, that's going to be limited to our crews and construction equipment to be getting on top of these. And eventually, it's already started at Polar Star, and within a few days at Mill Creek, we'll be dropping debris down into the roadway. You will not have that visual there. So no, the risk remains for catastrophic failure at Mill Creek, and people assuming that risk aren't doing it just on their own. They're also transferring that risk to public safety officials and first responders that would have to respond to any incident like that.
Thank you. And I do have a question for you. Is a question for Kevin. I've spoken with residents, this is from one of our local reporters. I've spoken with residents who live in the closed off areas of Big Sur. Many I spoke to feel like their real needs aren't being addressed. Some are running out of diesel and gas to run their heaters and other appliances, and having to wait another 3 to 4 weeks could cause a lot more issues. Have there been any attempts to create temporary routes for residents trapped south of Paul Slide or north of Polar Star, or is that just not an option?
Actually, Caltrans is responsible for the state highway system. And right now, and for the foreseeable future, for the next few weeks at least, the slide areas are not passable for public travel. And I would defer to the county for a report on whether any east-west roads are viable, but those would be largely county or Forest Service maintained roads. And I don't have a report on their condition. And actually, it's a human situation that people are in. People cannot move freely within that closure period because of repairs that are ongoing, and they are not getting the essentials. They're running low on the essentials. It's it's heartrending to hear those stories. We're working as best we can to open the roadway, and then we're looking for the many stakeholders that the county has enjoined to provide essential services for those inside the closure area.
Thank you very much, Kevin, for providing at least some information on the roads and what the options are. And we really keep our fingers crossed that your crews can hit that 4-week mark. And who knows, maybe a couple days early, be like Christmas in February, right?
We're happy about the progress we're making. We hope to continue to make that progress. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Now we're very pleased to have Ray Cancino, who's the Chief Executive Officer of Community Bridges, with us. On Thursday, the County of Monterey is partnering with Community Bridges and some other agencies for a multilingual community webinar to help flood victims navigate insurance processes and disaster services. Ray, thanks very much for being here today. Tell us more about this webinar and what residents can find out about.
Absolutely. So this webinar will be, the first stages will be all Zoom. We plan to do additional in-person sessions in the next couple of weeks at 4 different locations across Monterey County. This is in response to a great set of these type of seminars that we did in Santa Cruz County to inform residents about different aspects about insurance claims and things that they should know about their policies, as well as public information in terms of resources that can help them speak to their insurance claim, to their insurance companies, as well as help get them resources to help alleviate some of the concerns, through this process. We understand that, unfortunately, insurance's job is to minimize their claims and payouts, which means high denial rates when there is natural crisis. The reality that flooding is not usually covered in most homeowners insurance, even in flood insurance, if you are able to get it and you happen to have had it, there are still limits. And so our goal is to ensure that the public is well aware of what language to use when speaking to insurance companies, what resources are available in the insurance process in terms of appraisal and or second opinions and or conversations with their insurance companies to have them be better prepared in those engaged process. We hope to also be reaching out to other Monterey County nonprofits as well as other organizations to add additional supports, which was very helpful in some of these sessions when we did in Santa Cruz. And just wanted to give a shout out to Community Foundation in Monterey for supporting these sessions, as well as direct assistance, which we are helping Monterey residents through our family resource centers in North Monterey County. So anyone in North Monterey County in the areas of Aromas, Las Lomas, Royal Oaks impacted by storm can access services right now, and includes financial direct assistance that can help you pay for some of your insurance deductibles, some of the lost wages, or other types of damages that might have occurred. So the beautiful thing about this seminar is that you can see some of our seminars, and a lot of the information can be covered right now on our website at www.communitybridges.com/emergency. And you can get that information today. We also will have a Q&A question allowing people that are in particular situations that have already either have made claims or have already received responses to troubleshoot with some of the experts, which are our partners, United Policyholders, which is a consumer-based nonprofit that deals specifically in claims with insurance. And so we're just excited to be bringing this forward in 4 different languages to make sure that this is accessible to as many people as possible in Monterey County.
Thank you, Ray. And in fact, I was hoping you could talk a little bit more about the multilingual aspect of the webinar. What is available for people and what languages are available?
Absolutely. So the languages will be obviously English and Spanish, and then we will be going into indigenous languages of Triqui and Mixteco. All of them will be simulcast. So individuals, there'll be about a 10-minute period where people will be hearing all the different languages available. Using the Zoom function, they will be able to select their channel and actually listen to a native speaker of that language, translate the presentation. In addition, if people aren't comfortable using Zoom, they can dial in, and actually there's phone numbers available on the flyer where individuals of that particular language could just call in and listen to the full session in that language. And we'll also be able to accept questions and answers as a result of that. And so it's our commitment to language justice. It's our commitment to making sure that everyone has access to this information and knowing that we're trying to be here to support our community as best as possible.
Thank you, Ray. And then I'm also wondering, what are the most common questions or issues that people had when you did these before in Santa Cruz County? What are the most common questions that people had when they were listening to what their options were?
I think that the reality is that most people don't have insurance. And so the question is, what do I do when I don't have insurance, and what are the resources available? And so that's where I think it's critical that we not only speak to homeowners and renters that might have insurance, but also individuals that are coming there out of a sense of desperation. And so having local resources that are able to navigate individuals through either low cost loans or through the FEMA process is critically important. I think also setting expectations for individuals of how long the FEMA process is, and the fact that you have to apply for both the loan and the grant in order to get the grant, and you have to make that determination, is critically important, as well as the reality that you have 60 days from the date of incident to apply for FEMA. When we did this, unfortunately, with CZU fire victims, a lot of folks were trepidatious to actually move forward with applying for FEMA because they didn't want to take on new debt. And that's totally understandable. There's people obviously in tremendous amount of trauma and frustration and anger as a result of the natural phenomenon. And at the same time, there's a clock ticking. And so when people were ready to apply, their time had lapsed. And so we want to make sure that people are aware that it doesn't cost you anything to apply, and you can always turn down the help later, but your application does need to be in within 60 days of incident as well.
Thank you, Ray. And I also just put up the flyer that is out there. So if people hadn't seen it before, we'll be sharing this again on our social media, and we'll email it out to our community partners. But here is the flyer. It is this Thursday, the 26th at 6 o'clock. There's the link to Zoom, but also there are the phone numbers there for people if they feel more comfortable calling in and just don't want to deal with Zoom. That is available to them. Any last word on this? Any last words of encouragement?
Just to let people know that the disaster resource centers are going to start to come in and make sure that people are accessing them already. They're a great place to start to not get frustrated through the process. And obviously anybody from Monterey County is more than welcome to travel up to our family resource centers, the closest one being in Watsonville. But we hope to actually partner with local nonprofits to ensure that we train up local nonprofits so they can do disaster case management moving forward. And we hope to build additional resiliency by accessing other resources that are available in the county. Currently, right now, we are partnering with Catholic Charities of Monterey, which is helping to support actual direct assistance as well for individuals. And we're more than happy to take more of those opportunities for folks when we do the in-person sessions, because we'll be better prepared to provide actual resources on the ground. And so I look forward to those dates, and we look forward to having further conversations and opportunities to help support our community.
Thank you so much, Ray, for being here and telling us more about this, the webinar. And we really hope we get a great turnout and people get the information that they need. And then we mentioned the Community Foundation of Monterey County, and lo and behold, here they are with us. We're very pleased to have Amanda Holder from the Community Foundation, who is going to give us some really good news. You may have heard about the Storm Relief Fund. Well, there have been some grants given from that fund, and Amanda is here to tell us about it. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, everybody. It's great to see some familiar faces and names there. And thanks for having us here. And I do want to shout out while I'm getting my screen ready is to Maya and Nick and the comms team. Let's see. Can you see my PowerPoint?
We do.
Okay, great. And just and the media for keeping us all informed from the get-go and keeping Monterey County safe through all this. So thank you, everybody, for all the hard work you're doing. Unfortunately, the Community Foundation has experience with disaster relief funds, as you may remember from Sobranas the Big Sur Fire Fund, Monterey County Fire Fund, COVID Relief Fund. And we have experience in disaster relief, being a philanthropic partner, as well as in the grant making. And we do not charge any fees. 100% of the gifts to these funds go to grant making. There is an easy online application process. We know that organizations like Raise, thank you, to Community Bridges, they are the ones best available to assist the individuals in need. The CFMC is not a direct service provider. So the mechanism is the fund makes grants to nonprofits, and through that we help the community. So the fund was created January 10th. The Community Foundation funded initially with $100,000, and our friends over the Monterey Peninsula Foundation quickly matched that. And we've also gotten support from David Lucille Packard Foundation, Vista Energy, and individuals, businesses, anyone can contribute to the fund. The purpose is to provide emergency assistance relief through local nonprofits for the needs that you see, and as well as recovery efforts. And a total of $231,400 has been awarded to 9 nonprofits for flood relief. The applications are reviewed and are granted on an ongoing basis. So last week we made our initial grants to Sur for financial support for farm workers, Community Bridges for all they're doing, their webinars, their outreach and relief for residents, and also Casa de la Cultura in Pajaro. And additionally, outside of the Storm Relief Fund, we also have the Community Fund for Carmel Valley. That's a fund of the Community Foundation, and they activated their disaster relief fund the very first week, and we're able to get gift cards out to people in the Carmel Valley community. And just yesterday, we approved an additional $121,400 in grants to 5 nonprofits, Action Council for Storm Relief, Catholic Charities, Ray mentioned, CABS for the Big Sur community that's impacted by these closures and isolation. That's the Community Association for Big Sur, Meals on Wheels, and also a small grant to Wonderwood Ranch for storm and mudslide repairs. So to find details for applications, if you are a nonprofit seeking funding, or if you want links to these community organizations, the website is cfmco.org Storm Relief Grants. And the fund, as I said, 100% of donations go to grant making through nonprofits, and people can support it online. The need is expected to exceed available funds, but we will keep granting as long as funding's received. And we're just always grateful to the generosity in Monterey County to help our neighbors. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
This is such great news on a day we could all use some good news, and this is just really exciting. I'm hoping that you would also just reconfirm for people where they see these grants are available, but really they're directed to agencies that are boots on the ground, and the Community Foundation is really serving as that collection point to put the money where it is most needed.
That's correct. So we've worked with many of these agencies before, again, through some of the other funds for community support. They know and see the need in their area, are able to help those affected directly. And so that's why we help amplify their efforts and, best, try to fund them and support them directly, so that the agencies themselves doing the great work are where community members can go to ask questions or seek support.
Thank you. I'm not sure we have any questions that have come in for you. Let me take a quick look. And you said you'll be granting as long as you've got the funds. Are you encouraging, this is The support is going to be long-term. And I think that's what people may not understand. They may think the sky is clear, they see some roads being fixed, and that it's really over. And I think you could probably attest to the fact that it's not, based on what the groups that you're granting to are doing.
Yeah, the need is there, and the recovery is just kind of the beginning. They may not be in physical harm's way, but they're there picking up the pieces. And this is throughout Monterey County, you know, from San Ardo to Pajaro to Big Sur. So people will need support, and this funding is to fill the gaps. We're not FEMA. We don't want to interfere with FEMA, but this is often to fill gaps that can't be met in other ways through insurance or other funding.
And that's a very important gap to fill for a lot of residents. Thank you very much, Amanda, for coming on and sharing this really great news. And we look forward to hearing about more grants coming from this fund.
Thank you.
And thanks everyone for joining us on the news briefing this week. Our next briefing is next week. We'll see you then.